On a typical weekday, I usually set my alarm for 5:30. Sometimes I sleep in till 5:45, sometimes even 6, but I try to rise early and pour my coffee and sit downstairs for a little bit and spend some time in prayer before I go upstairs and read my Bible. I like to journal every day and write down a verse that really spoke to my heart. And almost every single day, I get ready. I put on makeup, I get dressed, I do my hair most days. I don't curl it every single day, but on this day, I thought I would add just a few curls to freshen it up a bit. Now, we homeschool our 4 boys, and my husband is in ministry. He is an assistant pastor, and so his schedule is a little bit more flexible now. It didn't used to be this way for many, many years. Over a decade, he worked secular jobs and usually left very early in the morning. But just recently, we've been adjusting to this new schedule, and it is such a blessing to have him more involved in the boys' education. So a lot of his work is done on the afternoons and the evenings and on the weekends, actually, which allows him to be more involved in homeschool. So on this particular day, I'm just making my bed. I try to make my bed every morning, and Mike usually goes downstairs to start on kefir smoothies. We make homemade kefir every day. It's a simple way to incorporate probiotics into your diet. And we ran out of bananas, so the smoothies were a little bit thick today. And you can see he's making a separate smoothie for the boys and a different one for Mike and I because we've added some collagen to ours and a little bit more protein. But homeschool for us, usually the boys just get started on kind of review and pages that they can do on their own for a little bit. And then once everyone finishes smoothies, we try to all gather in the living room, and Mike chooses a verse for the week that we read as a family and memorize, and then I'll choose a hymn that goes with it.
Our verse is Psalm 46:10. It's be still and know that I am God.
Be still.
Be still
And know
and know
that I am God.
and I
That
Now, after our Bible time and prayer, the boys continue to work on their core subjects. I'll get something going for breakfast. We usually rotate between oatmeal, eggs, and yogurt every day. Sometimes I'll make something special like pancakes or waffles, but we typically split up, and I'll take one of the boys and work in the living room. Mike works at the table with another boy.
Okay, now can you tell me what the verb is in this sentence? I am. Very good. How about this? My beak is smooth.
is.
Very good. How about this one? I give milk.
Give.
Gabriel.
You eating your oatmeal?
Even with this don't give, it'll blow through
Is straying like a sheep, but has no return to the shepherd.
Now, typically the boys do language arts and math every single day. We use the Good and the Beautiful. It's an awesome curriculum. And then the boys are doing a Bible curriculum as well from Answers in Genesis. That's been awesome. And they also do piano lessons in the morning. And by the time they finish all of those things, it's time for lunch. So I just made the boys like a snacky type lunch today, because I had just enough leftovers for Mike and I. We made these like carnita rice bowls the other night, and we are very much into leftovers in this family. We never throw leftovers away, so I had just enough for Mike and I think Ethan had this as well. So I'm just like scraping that up for us to eat. And after lunchtime, I will go ahead and try to get started on dinner prep because I really like to get that done ahead of time so that I can use nap time to do things that are more difficult to do with my little toddler around. I can cook, I can clean with him, but there are certain things, especially with like work-related things, the blogging world and YouTube, that I really don't want to do when the kids are around. So I try to save that for nap time. So right now I'm getting started already on dinner time prep. I am going to boil an entire chicken, cover it with water, add some celery, onion, peppercorn, salt, and that'll make a delicious broth while I wash up these lunchtime dishes. I'm also going to get started on a loaf for tomorrow's supper, and that'll just be a sourdough loaf. I have the recipe over on my blog. If you want to look it up, it's a great beginner loaf recipe. One of my biggest tips for homemakers, and I talk about this a lot in my homemaking course, is just thinking ahead, planning ahead, so that you know what you're going to make that evening the moment you wake up. Even with this loaf that I'm making today, I'm preparing it for tomorrow. I'm just always looking ahead at the week, looking at what we have on the calendar and trying to be prepared, knowing what we have, looking at the pantry, making notes of things that I'm running low on. It's constantly thinking ahead, and that way you're not scratching your head at dinner time and wondering what you're going to make for dinner if you kind of have that in mind first thing. And so last night I was thinking about it even, and that's when I decided to pull the chicken out of the freezer and put it in the fridge so it could start to thaw. And then I had Mike pull it out first thing in the morning, just in case it was still a little bit icy. So just thinking ahead, I feel, helps so much as a homemaker so that you're not struggling to know what's next. Another thing that I like to do is just clean as you go. This is a huge help to me if I just tidy things up. Just with homeschool, I clean all the homeschool supplies and put them all away before moving on to something else so that my house doesn't feel like it's getting out of control. I feel like that helps a lot. All right, so whenever I boil a whole chicken, I always save the broth, especially if you can add some celery, onion, carrot. The broth is just delicious, and I'm going to be using that in my soup tonight. We're making chicken tortilla soup. The boys have a little bit of quiet time. I have them read for a bit before they play in the afternoon, so that's what they're doing here. All right, guys, so the boys are done reading. They're outside playing in the snow, well, some of them. Isaiah is napping. I'm going to shred this chicken up for soup tonight. But I wanted to tell you guys, you may or may not have noticed a new rug in our living room in this video. I'm not sure that I'm going to keep it. I am so back and forth on it. I think that a lot of people assume that like I know what I'm doing when it comes to decorating my home. I don't. I feel so confused sometimes and conflicted over decisions in my home, and I tend to play it safe. And so I decided to pick something that had a little bit more pattern in it, and it's such a beautiful rug, but I'm just not sure that I love it. I keep going back and forth, so I'm curious what you guys think. It reads a lot more neutral on camera. In person, the pattern is much more like greenish blue, which I love. I love incorporating blue into my home. We'll see if it stays or if I decide to go with something else. I didn't need a new rug in my living room. I really loved the plaid rug. But once I got the new slip covers on the chairs, it was the exact same color as my rug. So I was looking for something with a little bit of variation to kind of pop against the chairs.
So anyways, that's my rug story. I have actually been putting my bread loaves together a lot sooner because I feel like with this freezing cold weather, they've just been taking longer to rise. Rather than starting at 8 o'clock tonight, I started it around noon. So I'm gonna go ahead and shred this chicken up, and we're gonna have chicken tortilla soup tonight. It's one of our favorites. Very simple. And maybe after I get it all put together, I'll take you in the living room and show you more rug footage. Oh man, it's a tough one.
All right, so since recording this video, we've had the rug for a good bit and I've really warmed up to it. I like it a lot more now. I'm thinking it's going to stay. Like I said, I really loved the plaid rug, but everything in my living room was feeling too similar. There was like too much beige going on, especially now that the chairs, they're from Bems. They're linen slipcovers. They're beautiful and they came in the color Pebble. And so I just wanted something to sort of pop more with those chairs. And so anyways, like I said, I've warmed up to it. I love the pattern. It reminds me of an old quilt, the pattern does, and I think it's so pretty. I think that changes in my home just take me a while to get used to. I remember when we first got our blue stove, I was like freaking out about the color, and everyone told me, just calm down, you just have to get used to it. It's so pretty, it's so fun. And now I love my blue stove. So I think the same goes for this rug. It just always takes me time whenever I make any type of change in my home. It takes me some time to get used to it. All right, friends, here is the rug. It is really so beautiful. I love it so much. This pattern that you see, it's more blue-green in person than it's coming across in camera, but it's really pretty. It's probably more busy than what I'm used to. Let me know what you guys think about it. I think that it's really beautiful for winter time. I'm curious how it'll look in the summer months. I don't know if the dark couch is throwing me off. This couch, you guys, is falling apart. Mike and I keep talking about getting a new one. It's very comfortable though. Maybe just the stark contrast between the dark couch and the light rug is throwing me off. I don't know. Maybe it'll just take some time. So there it is. It might be in my next video. It might not be. It's getting kind of dark now too, so you're not really seeing the true color, but it's very, very beautiful. But I did love the plaid one, so just trying to decide what to do here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and debone this entire chicken, and what's great about boiling a whole chicken, it usually gives us 2 meals. I know in a couple years when our boys are eating much more, that's probably not going to happen. But at this point, I'm able to squeeze 2 meals out of 1 whole chicken. So I saved half of the chicken for chicken pot pie for tomorrow, and I'm using the other half, a mixture of dark and light meat, for our soup tonight. And chicken tortilla soup is real simple. It is lots of spices, garlic, onion, cumin. I've got some onions and some green chili peppers sauteing here in the pot. And then I'm trying to think here. Lots of salt, lots of pepper. I'm going to add a can of petite diced tomatoes. And then it calls for a can of enchilada sauce, but enchilada sauce is so simple to make. You can easily make it yourself with just a little roux. Just add some like flour and butter to your vegetables, thicken it up, and add some broth and some spices. Anyways, that makes for a really simple enchilada sauce. Some lemon pepper here. It's really such a simple soup. And then you just add your chicken and broth, and it's so yummy. We usually have it with like crushed up tortilla chips and then some sour cream, and I'm trying to think what else, some cheese, some grated Colby Jack cheese is usually what we put on top of the soup. The boys love it. They all gobble it up. So a real simple winter meal for these chilly temperatures. After your soup has been simmering for, 10-15 minutes, that's when I add my shredded chicken. And then I also add a bag of frozen corn. I love the way sweet corn tastes in this soup. But anyways, I forgot the soup actually calls for sour cream as well. And you can add more or less depending on, how spicy you like your soup to be. I tend to add more sour cream because my kids don't like things super spicy. But anyways, it's such a yummy recipe and one we go to often. Now, after dinner is over, I try to clean the entire kitchen. I feel like this just gives me a great start the following day. I feel like I'm starting fresh. I don't come downstairs to a sink full of dishes or feel overwhelmed by what's happening in the kitchen. When I do all of the dinner dishes, wipe down all the counters, I don't know. I feel like I'm all set for the following day. Now, on this particular evening, I'm going to make a little treat for my boys. It was a very chilly day, and so I am going to make some hot cocoa. And instead of using sugar, I'm going to make this hot cocoa with honey. So I think I used like 3 or 4 tablespoons of cocoa, and then I'm just adding in honey to taste. I don't know. I don't really have a specific recipe, but I am throwing a little bit of water into the cocoa and honey mixture, a pinch of salt, and I'm just gonna let this all dissolve together into kind of a thick paste before I add the milk. And it turned out delicious. Anyways, just a fun thing to do on a cold winter evening, and I hope you guys enjoyed seeing this sort of day in the life video. I hope it gave you some ideas when it comes to homemaking, and if you are new here, I would love for you to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.